I was reading, one of the books that I read when I was young was everyone read it, The Catcher in the Rye. It's still out there by J.D. Salinger. He doesn't give interviews. Basically, he's like me. No, I'm joking. I'm like him. I don't blame, but he lives in Vermont. I could never live there, like in a place like that, like in a farmhouse. First of all, everything's changed. Number one, even the thought of getting away from it all, you wind up living next to a crank laboratory or a Mexican mafia drug farm. I mean, if you move, I'm leaving the area. It's terrible. I want to live in. I'm going to buy 100 acres in California, Utah. You wake up the next day, it's like a meth lab next to you, some guy without teeth, or they're growing pot in the national forest, and the feds are afraid of them. They don't even go in there by black. They won't even use a Black Hawk to look for it because it's liable to show that the illegal immigrants are. So one of the books that everybody read was The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I have the picture. Remember the kid? Remember Caulfield? That was such an important book in my era. But I understand it's still taught in college. The Catcher in the Rye, because he was 1945, J.D. Salinger. Now, what he represented, this character in The Catcher in the Rye, was the alienated kid, right? Remember that one? So there's a page, and I got to read to you, where he talks to one of his friends, and he says to him, I have a feeling that you're riding for some kind of a terrible, terrible fall, but I don't honestly know what kind. Are you listening to me? Yes. He says, you may be the kind where at the age of 30, you sit in some bar hating everybody who comes in, looking as if he might have played football in college. Then again, you may pick up just enough education to hate people who say, it's a secret between he and I. Or you may end up in some business office throwing paper clips at the nearest stenographer. I just don't know, but do you know what I'm driving at all? Yeah, sure I did. But you're wrong about blah, blah. So the next page in The Catcher in the Rye says, he's this fall I think you're writing for. It's a special kind of fall, a horrible kind. The man falling isn't permitted to feel or hear himself hit bottom. He just keeps falling and falling. The whole arrangement's designed for men who at some time or other in their lives were looking for something their own environment couldn't supply them with, or they thought their own environment couldn't supply them with, so they gave up looking. They gave it up before they ever really even got started. You follow me? Yes, sir, sure. He got up and poured some more booze in his glass, then he sat down again. He didn't say anything for quite a long time. He says, I don't want to scare you, he said, but I can very clearly see you dying nobly for one way or another for some highly unworthy cause. So then the guy says, the mark of the immature man is that he wants to die nobly for a cause, while the mark of the mature man is that he wants to live humbly for one. Are you following me how good this is? Why this book is still taught? He leaned over and they're talking. He says, I think that one of these days you're going to have to find out where you want to go, and then you got to start going there. But immediately, you can't afford to lose a minute, not you. And I hate to tell you, but I think that once you have a fair idea where you want to go, your first move will be to apply yourself in school. You'll have to. You're a student whether the idea appeals to you or not. You're in love with knowledge, and I think you'll find once you get past all the Mr. this and their oral comp that, blah, blah, blah. Should I read this to you right now? And I'll tell you why I'm reading it to you in a minute. So he says, you're by no means alone in that score. You'll be excited and stimulated to know many, many men have been just as troubled morally and spiritually as you are right now. Happily, some of them kept records of their troubles. You'll learn from them if you want to. Just as someday, if you have something to offer, someone will learn something from you. It's a beautiful reciprocal arrangement. And it isn't education, it's history, it's poetry. He stopped and took a big drink out of his highball. He said, I'm not trying to tell you that only educated and scholarly men are able to contribute something valuable to the world. It's not so. But I do say that educated and scholarly men, if they're brilliant and creative to begin with, which unfortunately is rarely the case, tend to leave infinitely more valuable records behind them than men do who are merely brilliant and creative. They tend to express themselves more clearly, and they usually have a passion for following their thoughts through to the end. And most important, 9 times out of 10, they have more humility than the unscholarly thinker. Do you follow me at all? These are underlines from when I read the book when I was young. Now, the reason I'm reading from my edition of Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, it's falling apart already, a paperback version, is because men of my generation were formed by certain ideas and by certain books. This was an important book that was a big part of my growing up. Now, you compare it to today. I mean, what are they teaching anybody? They don't even know the difference between, well, what's the difference? Why? I made my point. That's all. So here.